Okay. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special city council meeting for the city of Calabasas, February 5th, 2025. It's 4 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. And tonight I'm joined by Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht, Councilmember Shapiro and Weintraub, and Councilmember Kraut is attending remotely. The location's been posted. Is he on now? Can we get him on?
Yes, sir, he's on.
Okay. So if you'd like to provide public comment on just general public comment or on the specific item that's before us, please fill out a speaker card. They're in the back, and give it to our city clerk who's sitting over there. Members who need hearing assistance can request a device from the city clerk if you haven't already. Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to? You know, I think our Spirit of Calabasas winner, Mark Levinson, should be honored with giving us a Pledge of Allegiance.
Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Weintraub?
Yes?
Councilmember Shapiro?
Yes.
Councilmember Kraut?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht?
Yes.
And Mayor Bozajian.
Aye. Just so the public knows, we'll be doing roll call votes on every little thing because you have to do that under California law when one or more of your members are remote. So bear with us. Council announcements, we'll start with Alicia. Do you have any council announcements?
I just wanted to congratulate Mark Levinson on his Spirit of Calabasas Award. The Chamber event was really wonderful this past weekend, and it was great to celebrate you and all your accomplishments.
Ed, do you have any comments or any announcements?
I do. I wanted to welcome those that are asking questions about the groundbreaking. It was an amazing groundbreaking we had yesterday with the Caruso Group. We're looking forward to an incredible remodel, and hopefully it'll be accomplished by the end of the year. The Caruso team is so detailed and dedicated. I know the outcome is going to be exceptional, and we're excited to welcome it.
David, announcements?
Those are two great ones, and I am good. Thank you. None.
Peter?
None tonight, thank you.
Okay, and I too would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for a wonderful installation banquet. Congratulations, Mark. And also thank the Caruso team for its groundbreaking ceremony. I thought that went off very well. All right, now is the time for general public comments. These are for items not on the agenda. If you have anything you'd like to speak about pertaining and under the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council, you may do so. You'll be allowed to speak for 3 minutes or less. You need to fill out a card, though. I have one card for general public comment, and that's Mark Levinson.
Thank you. Mayor, first of all, thank the mayor for attending our installation and swearing everybody in to their new offices. Thank you all the council members and staff, Kendon and Scott, who also appeared. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. My other announcement is February 26th, the Chamber's luncheon at the Country Club is sponsored by the city. It'll be an opportunity for everyone to ask questions and receive answers of the topics we're discussing tonight, I'm sure. So please attend that. It's an opportunity to speak with the council, the representatives that's not usually acquired by everyone, so please attend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on an unagendized item? Okay, we'll move on. We're going to new business now. We have the Calabasas Public Safety City Services Measure. I will be reading parts of the measure later on as we take individual votes, but for now, I'm going to ask our city manager, Kendon Meek, to present the report.
Mayor, thank you for the time, and especially thank you to so many of our residents that are here in the audience tonight. It's been a real privilege for Scott and I over the last few months to meet with many of those that are here in the room. We've also spent some time with different HOAs and neighborhood associations, businesses, community organizations, And we thank each of you for being here tonight, or this afternoon, because of the questions you've asked that have led to better presentations and better thought on this subject. Let me get started, Mayor and Council, with, if I can, with this presentation. And this will be a presentation that both Pam and I will present on this afternoon. Now, the presentation that you will see this afternoon is a modified version of what we've, a simplified, I guess, version of what we've been presenting to the community. And the first slide here, let me get to that. Now it's starting to display. There we go. For several months, we've been sharing this slide with the question, why timing matters. And this was one of our first slides, and we talked about local control versus outside control and what that meant for the city of Calabasas. As we were doing this since November, it was really more of a possibility that this could happen. More recently, and just in fact the last couple of weeks, with the proposal from LA County to move forward with a sales tax initiative, this has become imperative for the City Council to address at this time. What we will be discussing today is a 1% or a 1 cent transaction and use tax that could potentially generate $5.3 million per year for the city, and those funds would stay locally in Calabasas. Why are we now talking about this today in a special meeting? As I mentioned, just 2 weeks ago, unbeknownst to most cities throughout the county, a motion was made by one of the supervisors to move forward with a ballot measure on the June primary ballot. And what they're proposing at this time is a half-cent sales tax, and that would move forward, again, based on a county vote on the June 2nd ballot. With that, our current cap in sales tax is 10.75%. The city of Calabasas has the ability to capture 1%. We're currently at 9.75. If we do not act first, then the county or another agency could claim that capacity. It's important to know that what we're seeing with this new county measure that's being proposed is it's happened before, and it's very, I think, a critical time that we talk about this. Currently, the county has a Measure A, which was previously Measure H. This is a measure to address homelessness throughout the county. At this time, Calabasas generates about $3 million a year that goes to Measure A. This is, again, a half-cent sales tax that is already on the books. Calabasas generates about $3 million that is diverted into the county. In return, the city does not receive any monies directly from those funds. Instead, the COG, representing the 5 cities, receives about $380,000. Again, so if you do the math, we're diverting about $3 million of our sales tax monies to the county, and the 5 cities are sharing about $380,000 that comes back to the COG. With that, I'd like to turn the time over to Pam to talk about the council action tonight and some of the steps that we're requesting that the council consider.
Great, thank you, Mr. Meek. Now, what you're not being asked to do tonight or this afternoon is you're not being asked to adopt a tax. That is not within your purview as a council. What you will be asked to do is determine whether or not the voters are going to be voting on a proposed tax or not. In essence, today, you're going to be doing 4 things, or requested to do 4 things. First, that's to declare a fiscal emergency. It's a procedural requirement. 2, you're going to call for a special election for all mail ballots. 3, place on the ballot a sales tax measure for a 1 cent sales tax for the voters to decide. And 4, as part of all of that, to direct staff, city manager, city clerk, and others to take action with respect to the procedural aspects of preparing for an election. Next slide, please. And we did talk about fiscal emergency before and why it's required now, so I'll get into a little bit more detail with that. Normally, when a city council puts a sales tax measure on an election, it does so during a general election. That's usually when you select city council members, and for the city of Calabasas, that is typically November of odd or even years. coming up, it'd be November of 2026. But there are certain exceptions, and one of the exceptions is allowed under Article 13C, Section 2B, for emergency circumstances such as a fiscal emergency. Now, what is a fiscal emergency? A fiscal emergency is actually not defined in the California Constitution, nor is it defined anywhere in the government code or the elections code. But typically speaking, a fiscal emergency is when you have a sharp or rapid decline in revenues or a large increase in expenditures, a large or growing structural deficit, coupled with the fact that you cannot meet your some of the contractual obligations, or you cannot maintain certain levels of service that cities typically provide. And in our case, we are looking at a growing structural deficit with the city's general funds, and at the same time, a decline in its reserves. I believe that within 2 years, the city will be below its reserve policy, and within 5 years after that, it will run out of reserves if no action is taken. So that certainly does qualify as a fiscal emergency. In addition to that, and you'll see later on, we are facing over $23 million in unfunded capital improvements and obligations. So that also, coupled with all the other factors, does constitute a fiscal emergency. Now, what a fiscal emergency does not mean is that the city is not going to be insolvent. We're not looking at bankruptcy. We're not looking at other insolvency issues. It also does not mean that we are going to suspend or reduce or cut overall certain aspects of city governance that we are required to perform. And lastly, this does not currently affect the interest rates on the existing bonds and debt obligations that the city has. If a sales tax measure is adopted, it will in essence not affect the credit rating of the city.
Let me continue with some of the information that we've shared with the community. As the council is very aware, our last 2 budget cycles have been very tight. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've been at a deficit budget in our general fund. When we started our budget process this current fiscal year, or in the spring of last year, our first draft of the budget showed a $2 million deficit. The council was very proactive during the budget cycle and was able to reduce that deficit down to just under $600,000. But again, what we're seeing is that the current deficit, coupled with the previous years, is not a singular event. What we're starting to see, and Pam used the word a structural deficit, which is an ongoing problem. It's not something caused by an economic downturn or a slump, or it's not a singular event. This is an ongoing problem that is facing the city. If we look at a forecast, as we looked at historical expenses and historical revenues, if we then take those trends and project them out going forward, we will see about a $1.3 million deficit in this next fiscal year, and then in 10 years, it's just about a $6 million deficit. And as Pam mentioned, the council has been very mindful of this over time, and is probably, I think it's important to note for our residents in the community that this council is very fiscally conservative and very fiscally responsible, and in doing so have set aside funds. We currently have about $19.6 million in our general fund reserves, but as Ms. Lee mentioned, within 5 to 6 years, based on the current trends, those reserves will be depleted. The city attorney also mentioned unfunded capital and initiatives. This is a list of projects that are pending. You see there that it was, when we started this conversation a couple of years ago, it was about $28 million. That's now been reduced, in part, that's by the action of the city council to do a planning fee study, and then a study for the fees at the Tennis and Swim Center. So what that has done at the Tennis and Swim Center is that facility now can assume all of the capital costs associated with the center, thus reducing having to rely on the general fund. So that it's not that we've moved projects per se off of the books, we've moved them to the tennis and swim center where they can now afford to pay for those own projects. As we've been meeting with the members of the community over time, one of the questions that has come up over and over again is what has the city council done so far? What has the city done? And again, compliments to the council and the foresight that they've had on this is they've been very proactive. The questions that have come from the council over the last 2 years with our budgets have forced us to look at every single expense, really dig deep into the budget. But beyond that, we've reduced the city's workforce. We've implemented hiring freezes. We've eliminated programs, events, cut services. We've renegotiated contracts or suspended contracts. We've explored all other potential revenue sources, including a hotel bed tax, parcel tax, and other sources of revenue, only to come back to the point that potential sales tax revenue is the best option for us as a city to capture the revenues that we need. Currently, and we've shared this with our residents, is our sales tax comes primarily from non-residents. About 57% of our sales tax revenues comes from people who either visit or come to work or shop in our community. I was recently in contact with a city manager from a city to the south of us who are also exploring a sales tax initiative for this year, and their situation is the opposite. Over 60% of their sales tax revenue is paid by residents, and about 38% is paid by non-residents. So again, we're fortunate that we have a balance in that sense that most of our sales tax revenues comes from outside sources, not fully burdened on our residents. We've emphasized several times that a potential sales tax keeps revenues local. I was in a conversation with a local business owner just this week about why they choose to grow their business in Calabasas. And one of the things that came up in that conversation is they choose to grow their business in Calabasas because they know that investment will yield positive results in the future. Very similarly, what we're looking at doing is asking our community, asking ourselves to invest in Calabasas, to invest in those services that keep Calabasas, Calabasas. At this time, I'll let our city attorney talk about the specific measure and the language there.
So what you'll see before you is the actual language of the ballot measure regarding the 1 cent sales tax that would provide approximately $5.3 million annually to the city and will remain so in the city under the city's local control to be spent on the residents and the community. The measure also includes an independent audit, public reporting requirements, as well as the establishment of an independent citizens advisory committee to review the expenditures and to report to the city council on those expenditures. And it will remain in effect until it's amended or ended by the voters. So next slide, please. What we are looking at now then is what the next steps will be. And today you are being requested to declare the fiscal emergency and call a special election for an all-mail ballot election. And throughout this process, the election will go forward, if so called, on May 5th of 2026. And then if the voters do approve the sales tax measure, it will go into implementation approximately October 1st. That gets sent to the state for review and approval, and the Department of Tax and Fee Administration will then begin implementing the tax within that quarter. And if it does not get approved, then the council will be required to consider additional revenue generating measures due to the existing structural deficit.
And Council, we are now welcoming any questions that you might have. We do have a website that we've had live on the city's website, Fiscal Outlook. It's there, and we're requesting that residents continue to visit that site regularly as we update that. And Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to present on this.
Okay, what I'd like to do, we can take council questions, but I'd like to actually hear from the public first. So does anybody have any questions, like burning questions to ask now? If not, Peter, any procedural questions or anything?
No, no questions at this time.
Okay. Then I will turn to the public. I'll remind everyone once again that once we're done with public comment and I close the public hearing, we won't take additional comments, so please fill out a card. So we'll start out with Brian Cameron. He'll be followed by Joe Chilco.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Brian Cameron. I've been a resident of Calabasas for about 40 years. I've been a public safety commissioner for the last 10, excuse me, and I'm coming before you to encourage you to pass this question in front of you. I graduated as a math major. I am a recovering pension actuary. So I'm kind of geeky when it comes to numbers and math things. So I sat down and I took a look at this, and we're talking about $5.3 million of additional revenue being generated from sales coming to the city council or to the city. There's 8,400. First off, it's been determined that more people shop in Calabasas than Calabasas residents shop in Calabasas. So about 43% of the sales in Calabasas are coming from us. The other 57% is coming from people outside of the city. So if you break down that $5.3 million, 43% of that works out to $2,279,000 coming from our pockets. If you further break that down into, there's 8,400 households in Calabasas, that works out to $271.30 per household being generated by this 1% sales tax. Divide that by 12, and it's $22.61 a month that we're talking about. This is for a city that needs the additional funds for some of the critical programs that we've adopted and are running, like Firewise. When we kicked off the Firewise program a year ago, there was one Firewise community in Calabasas. We're now up to, I believe it's 16 or 17 that are Firewise communities in good standing. And there are other programs that are also taking place. So anyway, I just want to close on there's a famous saying that says the only thing, death and taxes. And as we all orbit the earth, we can deal with the death. Taxes, we're doing the right thing here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'd rather have the taxes than the death, but we'll move on. I forgot to mention, please, when you get up there, as Brian did, state your name and city of residence. Joe Chilco is next, followed by Richard Sherman.
Hi, I am Joe Chilco. I'm a public safety commissioner for the city. I'm also a member of Emergency Preparedness in Calabasas, EPIC, and a member of the Calabasas Coalition. I'm not here representing any of those organizations today. I'm a very active resident, but I'm here as a resident, and these are my personal opinions. When I heard how little of the county's sales tax increase was come back to Calabasas, my first thought was, when Calabasas needed the county's help recently, we were met with silence. The sales tax revenue can be ours or the county's. Keeping it all for Calabasas keeps it here where it can be used to maintain and improve the things we value most. It's clear that if we need help, we're going to help ourselves. These are just words until we put them into action. I support the formation of a budget oversight committee that members of the public can also serve on to monitor expenditures. I ask that the City Council put its measure on the ballot in a standalone special election in May. We can save the city we love. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Richard Sherman, followed by Michael Harrison.
Yeah, hi, I'm Richard Sherman. I'm a Calabasas resident, and I'm this year's president of Calabasas Park Homeowners Association, CPHA. At a recent CPHA board meeting, we had the opportunity to hear from our city manager, Kendon Meek, and our assistant city manager, Scott Trujillo, regarding the potential Calabasas sales tax initiative. And like most people, our board is not enthusiastic about tax increases. However, and I was a little bit surprised at first until we started talking, the overwhelming sentiment was that the city leadership has shown strong fiscal responsibility, including making cuts wherever possible. At the same time, the cost of essential services, such as sheriff's department services, continue to rise, along with ongoing maintenance and repair expenses. And unfortunately, as you've mentioned, city revenue has not been able to keep pace with these increasing costs. For these reasons, CPHA board voted to support a yes on the proposed 1% sales tax initiative. And this decision was made even before learning the county's recent move to place its own sales tax measure on the ballot, and certainly one that, if not enacted tonight, this afternoon by council, would negatively impact smaller cities like Calabasas. As far as I can see, the county has now forced the issue. A sales tax increase for Calabasas resident appears inevitable. The real question is whether that revenue will be taken by the county or remain here in our community. We encourage the council to do everything possible to ensure that any additional sales tax revenue stays local. And we also appreciate, as Joe had mentioned, the inclusion of a Citizens Oversight Advisory Committee to help monitor how these new funds are to be used. Keeping the revenue in Calabasas will help ensure that our city remains safe, well-maintained, and a beautiful community in which we're all proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Harrison is next, followed by Joanne Suara.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Harrison, a member of the Calabasas Planning Commission, Mayor Bezagian, and members of the council. The city is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to push through a sales tax increase. A typical family of four is about to pay $400 more a year in sales taxes. Every senior on a fixed income will pay $100 more a year in sales taxes. And at the same time, the city granted Caruso over $1 million a year from new digital kiosk signs. I mean, if Calabasas needs money, let's share in the additional revenue just like all the other cities. The city has allowed multi-year deficits and continues to overspend. We appear to have almost twice as many employees per resident as similar cities with job titles inflated beyond actual roles. The city of Los Angeles is considering a sales tax increase to provide additional fire stations and firefighters. The county is considering a sales tax increase to restore health care taken away by Washington. The city of Calabasas is considering a sales tax increase to continue overspending. I'm not here to oppose public services. I'm here to ask for fiscal responsibility. Members of the council, it's time to get our budget under control. It's time for a citizens' budget oversight committee. It's time for accountability, not a tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next is Joanne Suara, followed by Francis Allette.
This is Joanne Sawara, longtime Calabasas resident. When I pulled up the agenda online yesterday, I was very dismayed to notice that the measure is called public safety, first two words, public safety / city services. And listening here today to the explanation of declaring a fiscal emergency because of structural deficit, declining revenues, capital expenditures that you need, I think it's very misleading for the voters to be looking at something on the ballot that says for the first two words, public safety. I think we need to be realistic about what we need this for and open with the public and the residents so that they actually know what the deal is, because to me, it's just not clear from the way it's worded. I hadn't prepared any statements, but when I saw that, I had to get up and say it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Francis Allette is next, followed by Laura Weishar.
Francis Allette, longtime Calabasas resident. My comments are predicated on the city making meaningful cuts and essentially overhauling its financial system so that we're not faced with the same deficit situation in 6 to 10 years. It's crucial to have budget oversight that includes residents. We know the county will have its own sales tax initiative on the June ballot. Springing for the cost of a special election will delay the city's recovery slightly. That being said, the council needs to weigh the circumstances that will provide the best chance for the city's initiative to pass. A June ballot will face two hurdles. The first is passage. The second is passage with a higher Calabasas vote count than the city's initiative. A special election faces only the hurdle of passage. I'm not a fan of spending money that I don't have. I wouldn't suggest that the city do it if this expense was for anything other than giving the initiative its best chance of passing without competing against the county. A $200,000 special election is less than 4% of the revenue that passage would raise in 1 year. And as much as it pains me to say it, I think it's worth doing. If this is the path you take, I strongly suggest the city look for additional cuts to offset this spending. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Weishar, followed by Dennis Washburn.
Hello, my name is Laura Weishar. I'm a Calabasas resident for 13 years now. I want to say hello, Mr. Mayor, and hello to the City Council. I am co-chair for the steering committee for the senior center here in Calabasas. And as we all know, seniors are normally against any kind of tax increases. However, as we in our committee began to learn about this potential initiative and what it meant to the city of Calabasas, we realized it would be the right thing to do, and the majority of the seniors on the steering committee do support this initiative. I also want to share a question that's come up in the last few days, especially with the LA County coming through with their potential initiative that will be on the ballot. And that is, if the initiative that the city of Calabasas is proposing for sales taxes is successful, are we aware or do we have any concerns that the County of LA could come back and have any kind of position that would say that our vote was not appropriate or that they had priority over these funds? That's a question that's developed within the last few days, and any insights you could give us on that would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Okay, we will answer that in just a moment. Dennis Washburn, followed by Matthew Chevy.
I'm Dennis Washburn, and I've lived in Calabasas since July 3rd of 1971. So not too many people are going to beat that. But that's not really a badge. That just makes you aware of all the things that are going on and that have gone on. I was involved with the Cityhood Committee for 15 years, trying to incorporate the whole territory, but none of that matters at this point. Right now, today is today, and we're all futurists at this point because none of us knows what's going to happen. And thank goodness, staff and council and the folks who have been advising you have brought us to this point where we are going to address the issues that we're facing with the sharing of the resources that are available to us. I'd like to ask everybody here in the room and everybody who might watch us on CTV or elsewise to take a look at your property tax bill and take a look at how much of that comes back here and take a look at all the other taxes and assessments and special district fees and all that, most of which are outside of the management or control of the city. And all of them are going up. And we're getting very little of that, and particularly in the area of services that we expect to get for the money we're paying for all those fees. So I've been working all these years to retrieve our fair share of taxes and assessments and special district fees, et cetera. And I'm strongly in favor of us putting it to the voters in our town to ask them what they're willing to give away instead of keep in the community to pay for the services that we've been asking for and getting. And even though we're cutting back on a lot of that stuff for all the obvious reasons, it's not something that we should have to be forced to make a choice on. That's our choice. And if we actually get to keep another penny on every sales tax dollar here instead of giving it to LA County or some other agency that we have no control over, I think we're in a good position to at least take back a little bit of the control or see if the people in Calabasas are interested in doing that. I think we should mitigate the impacts of all of the future county, state, federal, and I'm going to call them socioeconomic excesses over which we have no say or little control at the local level. So at this point, we need to defend our city and its budgets, its spirit of creativity, its community purpose, and all the things that we've created in these 35 years, because we're now 35 years old as of April 5th. Let me just finish with the idea of anticipating the coming unfunded mandates, and that is going to be in the area of housing, water, energy, atmospheric impacts, and mobility and infrastructure. All of that is stuff that needs to be talked about between now and the May election. I strongly encourage you to set the election, put the project in place, and ask for 1% sales tax to be retained by the city of Calabasas. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Matthew Shebby, followed by Wendy Fosberg.
Hi there, Matthew Shebby, Calabasas resident. Been here for a lot less than 40-odd years, 50 years. I would like to rebut something that the speaker before me said. He said that nobody knows the future. I think it's the safest bet in the world to say that the county ballot in June will pass. So it's not a matter of whether or not we're going to be paying additional sales tax 6 months from now. It's whether or not it gets set on fire by the county or whether we spend it here in this room. That's point one. Point two, I don't know if the text that was in the PowerPoint presentation is the official proposed ballot text, but there was a typo somewhere in the middle. There was an extra slash.
I saw that. I'll
Okay.
fix it.
And then three, also what another earlier speaker said, we can't do questions. I don't know if the city has previously done a mail-in ballot before, but I would be happy to volunteer to help with the election and make sure, not that I know anything about mail-in ballot elections, but I'm happy to help to make sure we don't get DQ'd over something stupid or just you need extra bodies and the city staff isn't sufficient to help run this thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Fosberg, followed by Charlotte Meyer.
Hello, Council. I'm Wendy Fosberg. I am a resident of the city of Calabasas for the last 38 years. There's very little that I can say that hasn't been said, so I'll keep this short. When I first heard about the proposal, the various proposals, the various alternatives, including the sales tax proposal that is now before the council, I did kind of a deep dive into fiscal issues, into alternatives, and I came up with what I think is a bit of an inevitable conclusion, that given the potential alternatives, this is by far the best alternative to address several fiscal issues that we have in the city. This is a high-quality city. It has been an amazing place to live, and it is incredibly important that we continue to maintain the high quality of the operation of this city. I am a person who, when I hear tax increase, I go, what? Like many people. But there are people, and I speak to the voters out there. There are people who, they hear increased tax and it's an absolute no. They shut down, that's it, voting against it. If people are listening to what has been said here today, I urge you to understand that it's not an issue of, are we going to be paying an additional 1% in sales tax a short time from now? It's, where are those funds going to go? Are they going to come back to our city, or are they going to go out to the county, city of Los Angeles? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for the benefit of this city to not pass this. It's something this city sorely needs, and I would urge everyone to get out there, and hopefully the council will be moving this forward to the special election, and people will have the opportunity to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. The last card I have is for Charlotte Meyer. If anybody else wishes to speak, you need to submit the card now.
As the council votes this evening to include the date of the sales tax election, I hope it will also formalize its commitment this evening to the creation of a Citizens Oversight Committee. Setting up a strong Citizens Oversight Committee can demonstrate that the city will be a reliable and transparent custodian of these extra funds. I have looked at the, having prepared ballot statements many times, I looked at this one, and it's kind of long and wordy. I think there is a science to writing effective ballot statements, and this kind of doesn't quite fit that mold. So I would advise you to please look at this again. It just, bullet points sometimes work better. I don't know how long of a, are you going to have 900 words? Are you going to have 400 words? Usually you pay by how much you want to put in. I don't know about this election, but it might be more helpful to really revisit this. Also, since we are going to have a Citizens Oversight Committee, maybe you should put something like that in the ballot statement as reassurance, because you are running, and by saying, well, we have some deficits, well, but this money is going to be carefully monitored. Thank you.
Okay, I did receive one other card from Robert Leah. And that will be the last card unless someone else hands one in.
Good evening. Robert Leah, been a resident of Calabasas since 1971. I'm going to cut right to the chase. This 10-year projection, if you looked at it, you could see that you can solve this budget deficit immediately. Salary and expenses today account for 33%. During the projection, it goes up to 40%. Something is woefully wrong. Now, I do support the 1%, but I think the city needs to do something. We talked about they made reductions, but nothing was quantified. You know, could have been one person was let go and there were staff reductions. The city manager and I had a series of discussions on how to solve things. We were supposed to try and resolve them. I don't know if those were ever shared with the council, but that idea apparently died just prior to Christmas. Anyhow, those are my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, I don't have any other cards here. So before we turn to the council comments, I did have a couple things. I will be turning the city attorney to respond to some questions and the city manager. In response to one question, we've never had a mail-in ballot election in Calabasas. And I did want to ask for clarification, is the county running this election or is the city, I mean, where are the ballots going exactly?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This will be a city-run election, and the ballots will be going from the city to the residents and back to the city for collection and counting.
Okay. The other thing that was asked specifically was by Laura Weishar about county invalidation. And my understanding, I mean, anyone can sue to invalidate an election, but my understanding is if you're first in time, there's no argument that can be made that you don't, unless you invalidate the election, you can't subsequently enact a county tax that would take precedent over the sales tax. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. With that, we're going to turn to council comments. We'll start at this end. David, would you like to start? Questions, comments, whatever.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple clarifications, and they've already been brought up before I go into my comments. The cost of this will be approximately $200,000 for this set-aside special election if we go forward, correct?
So, council members, as noted in the staff report, we were looking at about $275,000 to $300,000.
That's what I thought. Okay. Okay, and the vote, in order to enact this, if it moved forward to the public, and we do that here tonight, the vote needed to pass this measure would be 50% plus one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just clarifying, because I know we have it, I know we know it, but I don't know what else. And the estimate, which was raised by one of the speakers earlier today, is approximately $98 a year or so per person is the estimate of what it would come out to for our residents by increasing this, voting to increase it.
That's correct.
Okay. A lot of the comments have already been made and listened to. This is something that is, for me, and I'm sure everyone, difficult. Taxes in general are not something I would probably have the awe or the O comment as mentioned, and I did, and I do. I'm not generally a fan of taxes. But I also know very clearly that this is an opportunity for us to act first for Calabasas only. And it's one of the few ways, if you have been following this council and the city and the laws in the state, that we get an opportunity to maintain some semblance of local control. And this is what is, as I view it, what is being presented here. Our future needs, as already indicated, and I will say very clearly that this council's priority is public safety and emergency preparedness. And that is a big item for me going forward, that we have additional public safety. If the sheriffs, while the contracts go up, if the sheriffs cannot provide enough staff for the safety of our residents, for the safety of the community, for protection of open space, we have talked about in this dais before having supplemental private security to supplement, whether it be for open space or for other areas of the city. That is something that is important, and I view this as an opportunity to do so. The same with emergency preparedness, as is mentioned. Obviously, we live in a wildfire zone year-round. We're in a break now, thank goodness, from the rains, but we will be watching very soon in the spring and the summer as it comes up again. We're also living in an area for earthquakes and earthquake preparedness. Those, to me, are things that we do need to prioritize. The infrastructure needs, as mentioned, and on city properties, serious infrastructure needs are important as well as our parks, as mentioned, Civic Center, library, City Hall, and of course the Senior Center. To me, it's not the number one priority, but going up and down our city, and we have a great program and great public works department, but we need our city to look and feel as it always has in the years. I've only been here a half maybe of what Dennis has, 32 years. But to drive up Parkway, to drive up Lost Hills, to drive up Mulholland, you want the streets to be safe. You want them to not have potholes. Those are somewhat minor things in the scheme of things, but they are important. And our city needs to look and feel like it always has and always should, in my view. But the main, and also I'd like to see us continue to do, as we have in the past, as we should in the future, do good things for our community, not just what we're doing now, but hopefully in the future some more things. But the main purpose for me in this going forward, and I guess giving my view also, is that public safety and emergency preparedness are the absolute most important thing in my mind. And it is very difficult for me personally, and as mentioned by one of the speakers, it's difficult for me to vote to declare a fiscal emergency, which is what we're here, one of the items we have to do tonight. However, it is my fiduciary responsibility here tonight to ensure that any new sales tax revenue in the city of Calabasas stays in our community. Our residents should see the benefit of these taxes, and for that reason, I am willing to support this item, fiscal emergency, so the city can act quickly and put this on the ballot for the voters to decide. Thank you.
Ed?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, when I reflect on all the conversations I've had since this came up initially, I think back when my wife and I came to Calabasas to look for a home for our family. And we looked at a lot of places, but it seemed to be a shiny penny. It was so different and small, but yet vibrant. We couldn't have been happier being here, and to have to make a decision about the solvency of our city, I feel very fortunate to contribute to that, because I see so many reasons why. A lot of them have been mentioned tonight. The history of our sales tax and our property tax issues really wasn't mentioned very much at all tonight. And as we've come to learn, the council, looking back and been told, the formation committee in 1991 was given a third try to obtain cityhood, and we're given what was called a take it or leave it, and city founders took it. It was 4.7, 4.72, and I think that was really the problem that created this fiscal problem. It happened at the inception of our city. But why would you say no? You know, we were very fortunate, and look what we developed. Residents grew, the city grew, from 10,000 to 23,000 plus. Services had to grow, but it grew incrementally, and it grew in a beautiful way. Walking and driving around our city, you're happy every time you come home. And the safety factor, council has been absolutely stringent when it comes to safety. We can't control the contract, which now is in north of $6 million. And COLA for staff, there's pressure on the city to maintain the services we have. Having the sales tax, in my opinion, really brings parity to what we should have had when we did become a city and what most cities have now. If you look at an average, maybe 5 or 6%, some have a little bit more. But we may not have had to have been here tonight to talk about this if we had a decent percentage. I don't know if we were punished. I can't tell you the reason to look back on it, but we're here to make a decision and take control on our own. And I think this, if we do put this forward and it passes, I see that having served on the budget committee, yes, it's only been 1 year, but I've dug into it, and I see that the city will be solvent for years and years to come. So that's what we want. We want to have control. And if we want to make adjustments, which there have been some adjustments mentioned tonight, that should be considered. And we can continue to consider things that will keep us prudent on our fiduciary responsibilities. But I'm in full support. I don't think the amount is asking an awful lot of the community based on what we have that's so different from so many other communities. This is ours, and we can keep it ours, and we can keep that penny shining. Thank you.
Alicia?
Thank you. I also want to thank everyone for showing up tonight. It's really important that we hear from the community, especially on something so important. So thank you for being here. One thing that I've learned since serving on this city council is how important local control is. You learn very early on how unsupportive the state is, unsupportive the county is, and how reliant we need to be on our own means. So much local control has been taken away over the last few years that this is really one of our last opportunities to get control back, especially from a budget standpoint. I was looking at what other communities have already done this, and it's Malibu, Santa Monica, Culver City, Glendale, Burbank, West Hollywood, and Pasadena. All of these other cities have already adopted similar measures to protect their local revenues. And I think that's really important. These are really very well-run cities that are focused on their future. I hate taxes. I hate government waste. But I am telling you, we have done everything that we can, and we need this money. Every day when I'm out in the community, people are asking for more, and we want to be able to provide that. And this will allow us to do that. I mean, this list, everyone can agree with it. Maintain 911 and sheriff response, prepare for and respond to wildfires, help prevent property crimes and home break-ins, keep our public areas and parks safe and clean, and reduce fire risk, repair streets and potholes. These are things that we expect in this community, and these are things that I wholeheartedly support. And I know that this sales tax measure is the way for this to happen. I always joke that you know when you enter the city of Los Angeles by the way the streets change. And we want to keep it that way. We want Calabasas to look beautiful, to be safe. These are all things that's why we all live here. And I really believe that this is the only way for that to happen. And as a side, even if you are opposed to this, it's important that you know that you might end up paying it if the county gets there before us. So we want to get out in front of the county, we want this to pass, and we want to continue investing in the community that we all love. So I support this. And the one thing I do want to add, I think it's great, all the people that brought up the Citizens Oversight Committee. And I also just wanted to add that our city staff is available to go out into the community, and they're going to be doing that a ton. But if you know groups that might want to speak to them, please let us know. I mean, we have a list, but you know, your friends, your neighbors, we just have to get out in front of as many residents as possible, and it's going to take everyone's help in this room. So thank you so much. I
Thank you,
support it.
Alicia. Peter?
Yeah, thank you. And first, I want to say thank you to our mayor and my fellow city council members and to our staff for allowing me to participate remotely, giving me an opportunity to be there for my dad who needs me right now and be there for my city at the same time. I appreciate your accommodating that. You know, this has been an issue we've been wrestling with for years now, and I too am in support of moving this forward. I do want to point out a couple of things for the community members that do have concerns. First of all, is there more we can cut in the city? Yeah, there probably is. Would it affect our services? At this point, I will say yes. I've been on the budget committee for 5 years, serving with my colleagues, Councilmember Shapiro and Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht. And we have looked, we have dug, and you know, the things that we you know, cut out seemed pretty small at some points, but we tried to turn over every single rock. Our cost allocation plan was the biggest opportunity for us. We did reduce our contractual expenses. We canceled some community events. The capital improvement projects are growing. This is something that we, your council, have identified, is that we have this beautiful city that was built 20, 25, 30 years ago. Some of the buildings are older than that, and they need repairs. And these things have not been budgeted over years past. They are currently budgeted. And although they're budgeted, we don't have the funds coming into the city to maintain that budget. Just last month, we created an opportunity with our contract with CalPERS to allow early retirement for staff members here in the city. You're going to see that roll out in the next few months. And with that comes a guarantee that for each person who takes advantage of that, we keep a closed position. This is our way to reduce the staff without creating unnecessary hardship on the family members of our staff who have been working so hard for us. So these things we've already done. You know, the question came up, you know, what is our structural deficit? You know, I want to point out that as we looked at that, the general fund 10-year projection base case that's in the packet, sales tax increased by about 5%. These historical averages are actual 10-year numerical exactitudes that I asked our CFO to identify exactly how much these items are raising or are rising each year and to use those numbers. And that's what's in this report. 5% increase in sales tax, 4.4% increase in property tax, 3.6% increase in utility tax, 3.9% increase in TOT, our hotel bed tax. All of those numbers are under 5%. But yet salary and benefits up 6.5%, CalPERS up 8.7%, medical insurance up 9.3%, CGPIA, which is the insurance that covers our sheriff's department, up 10.6%. These are all numbers that are outside of our control. You know, I've heard some concern over staff, over the cost of our staff and salary. I'll say this, we open positions that we need to fill, and we might get dozens of applicants, but less than a handful are qualified. In the end, we make a job offer and we get declined because they go to another city that's paying more. This happens to us time and time again. If we had 10 or 20 solid candidates for each place that we advertised, I'd know that we were overpaying our staff. But I know the opposite. We're not. Our staff is compensated well for the job that they do. And frankly, it's a job that most people don't want. You know, some of the other things that bear repeating. Councilmember Weintraub mentioned other cities are doing this. Other cities have done this. We are late to the party. 59 out of 88 cities have a similar, tax that comes back to their city. Calabasas has somehow managed to get by without one all this time, but we have a structural deficit and we cannot continue to operate like we're operating. So for all of those reasons, I am certainly in favor of moving forward with both of these items, the declaration of a fiscal emergency, as well as the opportunity to put this on a ballot and let our community decide if they agree that we are ready for a city sales tax addition. I would like to ask one change, if we could, in the resolution, and this is going to be in resolution number 2026-1994, which is the resolution for a fiscal emergency. I want to point out that the resolution is correct in what it states. If we get to the actual resolution itself, it says, and let me find it here. I'll give you a page number for those that are following along. It's the resolution, page 5 of 6 in the packet. It is page 21 out of 100. And there it does say that the Section 3, the declaration of fiscal emergency based on the findings in this resolution, including A, the projected structural general fund deficit for the year 2026 to 27 exceeding 1.3 million. If we can back up a page to the recitals under HH, I believe we need to make a correction here. The recital says, at a minimum, a fiscal emergency in this context typically involves an unexpected decline in revenue, combined with an inability to provide or maintain essential services at acceptable levels. I believe that sentence should read, involves an unexpected decline in revenue or an unexpected increase in expense or a sustained fiscal deficit. And I just ask our city attorney if what I'm asking for is correct.
Yes, that would be appropriate to include as part of the recitals in HH. So we will make that correction.
Okay, so if there's a motion eventually on this item, it will be understood that it will include that correction.
I will
For that
appreciate
addition.
that.
Okay.
And that's all of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I have several comments I'd like to make as well, many of them based on some of the public comments. We talked about a cost of the election, which would be, someone had asked why we're having the election as a special election. Wouldn't it be cheaper with the June primary? The June primary is not free because we don't have our own election at that time anyways. So we would be paying the county probably close to this for a June primary, because that would not be a mail-in. So we're not really losing money by doing a mail-in election earlier. My experience with LA County is that I don't remember a tax measure or whatever that did not pass. And I track those things. They always fail in Calabasas and the surrounding communities, but we're a drop in the bucket compared to the county. Okay, so you can count on, if this measure passing, future measures passing, et cetera, can we fix the visual on this? You look like a ghost.
We're working on that, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I just looked over. Now I see a chalkboard. But anyhow, I'm sure staff can fix that. It will pass. If it's on the ballot, it will pass. And if for some reason it doesn't get on the ballot or whatever, it's going to eventually pass. They will take the last remaining cent. It's been pointed out many times that it's either the county's money or our money. We get very, very little in terms of county services when we pay that tax. I would also mention, because it's been brought up by one of the public commenters, about the public safety. Why are we emphasizing public safety? Because that's what the council members have said in the past are going to concentrate on. However, if you make it specifically a public safety initiative, it takes a 2/3 vote. If you specify where the money's going, with that kind of exactitude, as opposed to just a general fund with an emphasis on these other areas, you go from needing a majority vote to a two-thirds vote. My tracking of this around the county is it doesn't get two-thirds in very many communities. Probably wouldn't get it here. So that's the general reason for why that's there. As far as the full-time staff, in looking back over the last 20 years or so, I believe we're down 20 to 25% in terms of numbers of full-time. Is that correct? Typographical errors, as one speaker pointed out, I had noticed this too. On the measure itself, on the second line after services, there should be a comma. And then farther down on the 7th line, after areas, there is a typo. There's the insertion of a slash mark that should not be there. All right. As my very capable colleague Ed had mentioned, one of the problems of being the last city to incorporate, you can look back, and the cities that were incorporated in the 1800s and the early 1900s, they're getting 25% or so of their property tax. I think a couple of them have even 30% or more. We got less than 5%. We're getting a fraction of what the other cities have. If we had our fair share of the property tax, we would not be in this position. And I remember very clearly, because I took an interest in it, reading about it, that our supervisor and the Board of Supervisors said, look, you guys have been trying since the 1970s to incorporate. Our last best offer is you take this property tax or we're killing this incorporation. Under those circumstances, our city founders made the right decision to go ahead and incorporate. It was really, in my view, extortionary, but that was a proper decision. Unfortunately, we're stuck with that decision. The county's not going to offer us a higher tax level. And we're the last city to incorporate out of 88 cities. If another city incorporates, I'd be willing to bet they're like 4% or 3% property tax. You can go down, there's a seniority list I've seen. You can go down and it goes down exactly in order. Starts out at 25, 30%, goes all the way down to us. I think we're rock bottom at what we got, which is a complete ripoff. As has also been pointed out, that Alicia pointed out, most cities in LA County either have a tax of this type implemented or will have one by the end of this year. Okay, so that's the way it's just going to be. Now, of course, the county's tax kind of ruffles that interpretation depending on what city you're in. But we're trying to get ahead of the curve. We cannot wait until June. If we wait until June, as has been pointed out, we're going to have, we're going to have to get more votes in the city of Calabasas by our residents than the county tax, and it's very confusing. So I would also, in closing, talk about incorporating some of the ideas that we have heard here. I like the idea of a Citizens Oversight Committee. I think that's fine. I don't think we're going to spend it on anything untoward, but I'd be happy to have the public oversight. I don't have any other comments, but I did want to turn it over to the city manager and the city attorney to see if, based on our comments or the public's comments, they had any reaction or additional things to add.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could, I really appreciated the comments from the residents and also the interest in the Oversight Committee. And I do want to point your attention to page 47 of 100. This is the ordinance that is being presented to the City Council. So this is in section 3.10.140. It calls for an independent oversight in the creation of a Citizens Advisory Committee. So the way it's set up in the ordinance is the council would come back by resolution and create the guidelines, the parameters, and who would represent that oversight committee. So again, it is baked into the ordinance because we heard from the community over and over again how important that is. And so if approved by the council, it is built into that as part of that process.
Okay. Pam, do you have any other comments?
No, but we will take into consideration all the different factors that were discussed tonight. When we do bring back a resolution, you, the council, can then decide how many members you want. In the ordinance, it says up to 7. You can have less, fewer, and then you could also determine any requirements, whether they have a financial background or whether they may be a business community member, et cetera, to discuss what type of requirements would be important for that oversight committee.
Okay, are there any comments that, we can go a second round if people have comments based on what they heard. Ed, would you like to start?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Pam, I've got a question for you. I just want to clear the air of this. So we were and weren't surprised with the county coming in June. Happy to do this in May. But is there any chance that the county could come in May or interfere with our election? Right now, our May election would be solo, it would be on our own. Is that a possibility?
I don't see how the county could come and interfere with the election, except that there may be some procedural issues or defects that they would raise. And I'll turn it over to my colleague Anita, who specializes in public finance, taxes, as well as elections, to answer the question further.
Okay, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, I can. I'm Anita Luck, and I'm with Alshan Winder.
Is your microphone on?
I think so. Yeah.
Let me pull it closer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear better.
That's better. All right, I'm Anita Luck, and I'm with Alshan Winder, the City Attorney's Office. And the question was whether the county could come in and do a May election, just like the city was doing. And we actually are running out of time to call a May election. I think the last day is tomorrow, so the county couldn't come in really and call a May election. And I think it's a much bigger job for them. As it is, they're going to put on the big election in June, so it's very unlikely that they are going to come in and try to do a May election at this point. So the city will definitely be before the county with this measure, and so we'll have the first ability to capture that sales tax.
Other questions?
Did I answer the question, or was there something else?
Yes, you did. I know tomorrow is the day,
Yeah.
and I think we have arrangements to take this down to City Hall
Yeah.
by car, in person.
Norwalk.
So, so we will, this will be delivered via email tonight, if approved by the council, and then copies driven down to the required offices tomorrow morning.
Okay.
As a backup.
Great. So we'll know tomorrow if there's any issue, any surprises, where they can hold us up in any way. But thank you.
Thank you.
David or Alicia, any other questions or comments? Peter, do you have any questions or comments in addition?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So we will then turn to our roll call votes that we must take. First off is adopting resolution number 2026-1994. I'm going to be reading these tonight. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Calabasas, California, unanimously declaring a fiscal emergency for purposes of Article 13C, Section 2B of the California Constitution. The vote to approve this resolution must be unanimous. Is there a motion to approve the resolution with the amendments that were discussed?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I heard Alicia, and then
I'll
Ed?
take the second.
Okay, Peter will take the second. He was first, actually. Okay, so we will take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Weintraub?
Yes.
Councilmember Kraut?
Yes.
Councilmember Shapiro?
Yes.
Mayor
Yes.
Pro Tem Albrecht?
Yes.
And Mayor Bazagian.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Roll call vote number 2. It's a little longer, sorry. Would be a motion to adopt the following resolution, resolution number 2026-1995. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Calabasas, California, 1, calling and giving notice of a special municipal election to be held on May 5th, 2026. 2, submitting to the voters a proposed ordinance imposing a 1-cent transactions and use tax for general governmental purposes. 3, providing for this election to be conducted as an all-mail-in ballot election pursuant to Elections Code Section 4000 et sec, and in accordance with the vote-by-mail procedures in Elections Code Section 3000 et sec. 4, directing the city clerk to take all actions necessary to conduct the election. 5, requesting that the registrar recorder, county clerk, provide specific election administration services. And 6, setting priorities for filing written arguments and rebuttals regarding the ballot measure and directing preparation of an impartial analysis. the vote to approve this resolution must be by 4/5 majority. Is there a motion?
Second.
Albrecht, Weintraub. So, City Clerk will take the roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht,
Yes.
Councilmember Weintraub,
Aye.
Councilmember Kraut,
Yes.
Councilmember Shapiro,
Yes.
and Mayor Bazagian.
Aye. I would note that I hope I didn't on the first roll call vote, I said 2026, I believe.
You did, yes, sir.
Okay. Sometimes toward the beginning of the year, you get that 2025 mentality. Okay, this passes unanimously, so we'll take roll call vote number 3 under consideration. This is to conduct a first reading and introduce the following ordinance, waiving the full reading of the text. This would be ordinance number 2026-422, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Calabasas, California, imposing a 1% transactions and use tax for general governmental use to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. Is there a motion?
Moved.
So moved.
Second.
I think that was
Peter. I'll second.
Kraut and
Second.
and Albrecht. Okay. It's confusing when someone's on remote, sorry. The clerk will take a roll call.
Councilmember Kraut,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht,
Yes.
Councilmember Shapiro,
Yes.
Councilmember Weintraub,
Yes.
and Mayor Bazagian.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Certified copies of all documents will be subsequently delivered to the county. Roll call vote number 4 is as follows. First, to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city council to prepare and file a written argument in favor of the proposed measure and designate the mayor to select signers for said argument, and to authorize the city manager to execute all the necessary documents on behalf of the city. Let me state that inside the text of everything, we talked about council members may sign it, and I will certainly, anyone who wants to sign it can sign it. It's my own personal belief that a tax of this type is better suited for having residents and community leaders to sign it, rather than us ask voters to give the city and us authority. This should be a vote of the people. They should be discussing it. They should be discussing it with their community leaders and deciding on their own. So that is my personal belief. However, I will honor anybody who wants to request that they sign it as well. So understand that going forward. Is there any discussion or comment?
I'll move the item.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
So that's Shapiro Weintraub. City Clerk, please take a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Shapiro,
Yes.
Councilmember Weintraub,
Yes.
Councilmember Kraut,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht,
Yes.
and Mayor Bazagian.
Aye.
Motion
It's
passes.
unanimous. Okay, let me turn to the city attorney one last time to make sure. Is there anything else that we need to do tonight on this item?
No, I believe we've completed all the required actions.
Thank you for your hard work. I know it was hard to get all of this done, and certainly I, least of all, do not like taxes, but in any event, the die is now cast and it's up to the public. Next up, we will go to verbal reports. Does the council have anything to report? Nothing? Peter?
Sure. Just report that I did attend the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy meeting a week ago Monday, and a number of great opportunities from our state funds have been moved into our area. Nothing else at this time.
And I will tell the public that I was contacted by one of your fellow board members about you, and he had some very complimentary things to say about what a delight it is to work with you. So I don't know if that's been shared with you before, but the public should know that as well. You've made a good impression on somebody.
Thank you.
So we will turn to our city manager, Ken DeMeek, and ask if you have anything to report.
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, in that case, we have no further business tonight. It is now 5:25, and the meeting is adjourned until our regular meeting of February 11th, 2026. Thank you.